Hello, my name is Kaylee, and in this part of my channel I cover all things Australian true crime. So if you are not into true crime, please skip this video, go towards some of our other content. There are many videos full of different genres here on the channel. We cover things like TV shows, vlogs, lifestyle, and of course true crime. But again, I say if you are not into true crime or you think this might offend you in any way, please skip to another video. Now, I have been requested to do this video through one of the comment sections on another video, and I feel horrible because I don't feel I'm going to do this case justice, but I found it so hard to find the more early details, and I didn't want to go deep diving into the victim's family's life. That's not what this channel is about. But I usually have a bit more of a backstory for the people involved, but unfortunately for this case, it's more about the actual details of the case itself. And before we just get into the video, if you haven't subscribed, please hit that subscribe button. It really does help our channel grow. We're getting very close to 1,000 subscribers, which just blows my mind. So if you are enjoying our content and you haven't hit subscribe yet, please do. And if you have any recommendations for cases, please drop them down below and I will do my absolute utmost to do them justice in a video like this and try and gather as much information as I can. But today's case, I am covering Alexis Jeffery, who was sadly murdered, and she was living in the town of Goondiwindi, which is on the border between Queensland and New South Wales, if you have a rough idea of Australia, the states and things like that. Yeah, it's the bordering town between Queensland and New South Wales. Alexis was born on the 12th of October 1989. As a young girl, Alexis was full of life. She enjoyed horse riding and spending time with her family, which consisted of her brothers, her mum Elena, and her stepdad Chris. I got the impression that they had a very tight, close-knit family bond, and they all loved each other very much. Alexis was also the mother of 3 wonderful little children, and she adored these kids. She was absolutely, she doted on them, and she cherished every moment that she had with them. Living in the small town of Goondiwindi, which, as I said earlier, is on the border between Queensland and New South Wales, Alexis was having trouble finding Mr. Right. But she loved hanging out with her friends and spending nights socialising, having a few drinks at the pub, things like that. Now, unfortunately, on March 16th, 2014, at just the young age of 24, Alexis's life was sadly cut short. She had been murdered and dumped on the riverbank half naked in the local town. So on March 15th, 2014, Alexis decides that she's going to go out for a night out with her friends. She heads to the local pub where she's obviously going to have a great night of drinking and dancing and socialising. While she's out at the pub, she meets up with 37-year-old Robert Trebek, who is a local pig hunter in the area. He also does some farming work and things like that. Now, this was one of the first times that Alexis had actually met Robert. They had chatted a little bit on Facebook in the previous months, but this was one of the first real-life meetings that the pair had. Now, at 1 a.m, the pub is starting to close and everybody is starting to get evicted from the premises. It is confirmed that Alexis did ask the local bouncer at the door if she could have just 5 more minutes inside the venue before she was evicted to talk with Daniel Rousel, who was also at the venue that night. Now, during this conversation, Daniel says that he offers Alexis a lift home, but she says no. Now, she doesn't live very far from the pub. It's within a kilometre, so she says she's fine to walk home and she's going to do that all by herself. Somebody else called Daryl Sutton also comes forth and offers her a lift home as well. During Daryl and Alexis's conversation about having a lift home, Alexis does reveal to Daryl that she has received some really abusive text messages from Robert Trebek in the lead up to her night out. It was later revealed that in the 24 to, say, 30 hours prior to Alexis's death, Robert Trebek and Alexis had actually sent each other 169 messages, 80 of which came from Robert to Alexis. And it was confirmed that there were some really horrible and nasty things in these text messages and some calls that were made as well. Now, a little bit of a backstory on Daniel. He was in fact a lightweight boxing champion. And security footage that is later brought into the investigation by the police shows Daniel driving past Alexis and Robert Trebek in his car. He does pull over and have a conversation with them, but then he continues on driving past. When he was questioned about this footage and what the conversation that they were having that you could clearly see on the CCTV, he said that he was again offering Alexis a lift home. He also said that he saw Alexis and Robert sitting on the steps of the local ANZ bank. He said that he pulled over and even got out of his car, walked over to the pair and gave Alexis $20 to get a cab home. But that was later returned to him by Robert as he was entering the car. During this footage though, and during this moment, Alexis is said to have gotten up and started to head off again. So Daniel gives Robert a lift to catch up to Alexis because she's walked like a little bit further down the street. And from then, Daniel says that he just drove off, and when he had a quick look in the rear vision mirror, he saw them together and sort of having a cuddle and a kiss. Somewhere between the hours of 1 and 2:30 a.m, Police Sergeant Daniel Clark has confirmed that he actually spotted Alexis and Robert together. He said they were at the local park and Alexis was just hanging out on the swings, sort of swinging back and forth, and Robert was just sitting nearby. The sergeant had a brief chat with Alexis and basically said that she seemed happy and fine. At 3:30 a.m, another police officer, Troy Moxley, sees Alexis heading towards the local service station, but at this time she was all alone. Unfortunately, between the hours of 3:30 and 5:30 a.m. on this morning, that is when Alexis has been murdered. Her body was found later that morning by a young family who had decided to go on a fishing trip. Again, her body had been dumped on a riverbank, and the family that were going fishing had seen her there. They contacted the police and the investigation started. Now, just 2 days after she had been discovered to have been murdered, her jeans and her underwear were found stuffed in a hedge about 100 meters from her body. It's later confirmed that that is actually how she was killed. She had been smothered by her jeans. So the police investigation is well underway, and Robert Trebek becomes a person of interest straight away. The texts and the conversations that he had been having with Alexis in the 24 to 48 hours before her death were brought to the police attention. And another person comes forward, Debbie Stiles, who says between the hours of 5 and 5:30 a.m. on the morning of Alexis's death, she had witnessed Robert pacing back and forth around her front yard. She had just awoken for the morning and could see him out the front doing this. He was actually staying at her house for that weekend. She also noted to police that he had scratch marks up and down his arms. She was fairly certain that they were brand new scratch marks because she hadn't noticed them before, but she did also say that she understood in his line of work that could have happened at any point. Throughout the police investigation though, Robert Trebek actually calls Crime Stoppers as an anonymous source. He claimed that the police investigation was looking at the wrong person and that they should in fact be looking into Robert Trebek's family members. He also claimed, obviously, that Robert had been set up, remembering he hasn't called as himself, he has called anonymously. The thing about this though, the police, they had already bugged Robert's telephone line, so they knew that the call had come directly from him. So they understood that he was just trying to draw the attention away from himself. Now, in an interview with the police, Robert denies even being with Alexis that evening towards the end of the night. He says that he was not with her at the park. He was definitely not with her at the river, so he's in the clear. But again, at this point, Robert doesn't realise that his phone has been tapped by the police. So when he contacts his parents to say he doesn't know what to do because he has lied to the police, they hear everything that he says. And he openly admits to his parents that he lied about his whereabouts on the night and admitted to being with Alexis. Now, in June, the police release the CCTV footage that I was talking about earlier, which shows Alexis walking down the street with Robert and shows Daniel in the car driving past. When this is released, Robert, he packs up and moves to Bowen. Now, again, his work does dictate that he gets moved around a little bit for farming and jumping from job to job. But the police, they noticed that the move was pretty much after the CCTV footage was released. And he was then arrested on June 28th in Bowen. During Robert's trial, his story of events changes again. He now claims that he was with Alexis at the park, but Daniel, the guy that was driving past in the car, actually approached them and accidentally kicked Alexis in the head, causing her death. And Robert basically said he got up and ran away in fear of his own safety. Daniel, of course, denies this, and the evidence suggesting any of this is just not there. There was no DNA from Daniel on the jeans or on Alexis's body. And later on during the trial, it's shown Daniel's car, or a car very similar to his, is actually on his way to Bogabilla, which is what he claimed that he was doing during the hours of the morning. There was, though, DNA evidence from Robert on the jeans that were used to kill Alexis. Now, it only took the jury 3.5 hours to convict Robert Trebek of murdering Alexis. And during the sentencing, the judge actually reveals that Robert Trebek had also been up on a previous assault charge. He had previously been charged with assault of an ex-girlfriend of his. He had also killed the assault victim's kitten by snapping its neck and putting it in the fire. He was clearly mentally unwell. There is just no way a normal human being can act this way and be normal. I mean, don't get me wrong, that's no excuse under the sun for what he has done in any aspect, but just clearly he was not all there from the start. Robert is then sentenced to life imprisonment. On his way out, though, in the police custody, he punches the courtroom wall, sending himself to hospital to have his hand fixed. Again, I say, this man is not all there. Now, in a weird twist of events, in 2019, Robert Trebek is actually granted a retrial. This was on the grounds that the previous case brought forward was actually all circumstantial evidence. But the same outcome was provided, and again he was convicted, and his sentence of life imprisonment stood. Leaving the courthouse after the retrial, Alexis's mum and stepdad, Elena and Chris, expressed their sadness for the things that they are obviously going to miss out on in life. They're never going to be able to walk their daughter down the aisle or celebrate a wedding. There's just so much that they are going to miss out on because Alexis's life was taken so abruptly and so shortly. They also shared their disgust in the justice system in the fact that Robert was even eligible for this retrial. They then had to go through the entire process of this trial for a second time. And of course, that's an insult to the justice system in itself. So up to now, Robert Trebek is still currently in prison, and Alexis's family are doing their best to go forth with life and celebrate her memory. Again, I say I didn't dive deep into the victim's personal private life. She has 3 young children, and I didn't want to bring any attention to them because I don't know if the family they don't want to be publicized, I'm sure, the little kids and things like that. So I didn't want to really deep dive into the background and that sort of stuff. So I hope I've done this case justice and have respectfully shared the story of Alexis and what happened to her. I share my deepest sympathies and condolences to all of Alexis's family and friends, and to the people that got in contact with me to ask me to do this video. I hope this can bring you even a little bit of comfort, or know that people out there are most certainly thinking about you guys and the family of Alexis, and we're just all heartbroken that her life was taken at such a young age. Again, if you have not hit that subscribe button, please hit it. It will most certainly help our channel. If you've enjoyed this video, hit the like button, or even the dislike button if you have not enjoyed this. I would love some critique from anyone that has made it all the way through to the end. Please remember to take care of yourselves and each other, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!